What's happening? We live. We got to get live on the radio and do a little radio show. I might be rolling solo today. We might be monologuing today. Let me just check everything out. Let's see what we got going on here. Mic check. Usually I count on Angela to dance a little bit so I can see if the music's working. We're just gonna have to let it rip today. Let me see here. I'm just gonna send a shout out. Boom. All right, let's get this baby out on the airwaves. We're just going to count on technology working. Yeah, we'll see. Let me see here. Let's hit a button. Let's make this baby live on the radio. Opening up all the stuff. Here we go. I'll be right back because I got to. Oh, that's coming through like extra loud today. That was coming through loud on my end. I think I just got I had my stuff turned way up. Now we got her dialed in. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's time for a little home service happy hour right here on Turf's Up Radio. It's happy hour. I'm not going to waste a minute. Well, I already wasted like 4 minutes, but I got my workout in already today, so a little Busch Light for the show seems like a great idea. Let me see here. Who we got on? I think Sean Day is going to be joining us. We might get a little Rob Anderson action on the show today. Ben Smith is on an airplane. He said he might jump on. That'd be funny. We'll see. We might do a little monologuing today, which is fine because I actually have a topic. Believe it or not, I actually this doesn't happen often. I have a topic, and I got notes. I even wrote down. It's not a whole page of notes. It's like a half page of notes in my book here. And I don't come into the show with like a diehard topic every time. I like to kick it around, get the panel going. Speaking of the panel, we got Sean Day jumping on the stage. What's up, Sean? How you doing, man?
Good. How you doing? I was going to say you guys, but I only see one guy.
I'm the guy. You guy. How you doing, you guy?
That's
I gotta get out here and check us out on the Facebook. I think I know we're live. It says we're live, and that's pretty reliable nowadays. We're live in the old Higher Lead Chill page, if you can imagine that. Nice. And there's a Sean, I'm sure this has happened to you, and I know you and I have talked about it back in our Blue Skies days. But there's something that happens right around this time of year in most every industry that we deal with, whether you're a maid service company, whether you're window cleaning and pressure washing, a garage floor coating, a plumber. Actually, plumbers, I think right now, plumbers and drain cleaners might actually get like a seasonal uptick. There's a few seasonal uptickers, but even like the landscaping guys, your feast or famine on snow removal, right? And this time of year gets very stressful looking at your bank account. And it's funny being a bookkeeping nerd because I'm like watching people's bank accounts. That's literally my job. And sometimes I have to like talk them off the ledge. And hopefully, for the love of God, hopefully they talk to me before they go and borrow some really shitty money. But when we're put up against the corner and we don't know all of our options, sometimes we borrow some shitty money or we have to do stupid things with our money to try to like get through the winter and these slow times. And it's stressful, and it's just part of the downside of being a business owner. Is that's what we signed up for, is to like make those hard decisions. So there's probably a couple stories in here, and then I've got 6 or 7 things that you guys can do if you're looking at your bank account and it's getting stressful. I've got 6 or 7 things that you can do before you borrow the worst money ever to get through the winter. And trust me, it's worth doing these things instead of borrowing the worst money ever, because if you borrow really shitty money, you know, it's like that phrase, like play shitty games, you win shitty prizes. That's what happens. I've run into needing to say that more and more to my kids. Like when they come and whine at me when stuff goes wrong, I'm just like, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, you know? So anyway, borrowing shitty money, and I'll help you define what shitty money is. But borrowing shitty money is going to give you some really shitty prizes. It'll feel good for like a second because it'll get you through like a painful thing right now, but it's just such a drug. And when you start doing drugs, they get really addicting and you have to keep coming back to them. And that's exactly what shitty money is designed to do. It's made so that you can't stop using it because you can't afford to pay for it. So you have to keep using it. And you don't want to get sucked into that. Hey, everybody, welcome to Best Damn Bookkeeping. It's Wednesday. that felt very low. So I just had to like get things excited again.
Well, there's a little pushback. I'm a recruiting guy, so there is a little pushback when we try to get people to really dig deep into considering starting to recruit in January and certainly by the first week of February. And it's like, dude, I'm trying to buy a truck maybe. And I'm like, well, nobody's going to be driving it and doing anything out of it, if you don't recruit. So I get it. There's this sort of, and I think that probably always the worst time we make decisions is when we're highly emotional about stuff. And that's just a horrible time to make decisions and a really, really good time to reach out to a guy that knows, whether it's finances and bookkeeping like Dan or somebody else, or, you're not feeling real good about leadership and stuff like that. You need that when you're highly emotional, that's when you need to reach out and get another perspective.
Yep. And especially this time of year when there's a lot of alternatives, there's a lot of investments that you want to make, but cash is tight. Trying to prioritize those investments gets really hard because they all feel like shiny objects. You mentioned a couple of them already, Sean, which is you want to think about the assets that you're going to need for this year. We talked the last few episodes, we talked a lot about strategic planning, and a big part of that is what infrastructure and assets are you going to need. And you want to start putting that in place when you have time now because you're going to get to the busy season and not have time. So I get it. But is that the thing that's going to grow your business? Is that the best investment to make? Or is it recruiting? Because like you said, Sean, that truck does jack shit if you don't have an A player to go on it that's trained up and ready to go. So what's the point of getting an expensive truck if you don't have a guy to go on it? Because Lord knows you can't keep getting on the truck, business owner, operator, dude, ma'am. You got to get your ass off the truck and grow the business. Not always, right? That's not the right decision for everybody. But you have that alternative. This time of year is also big time convention, trade show. Get out there and see what's going on. Go meet some other vendors. Go see friends you haven't seen in forever because we're all operating our businesses in our little part of the country, and it's great to get together and reconnect. I think Home Service Workshop is going on this next week. Got sales boost coming up in a couple months. I'm down at PWMCA next month down in Florida for the pressure washing folks. And we're at CBF Live shortly in early April for the maid service folks. And then we're at Clippa in May with the holiday light guys. There's just like, it's that season, right? I think Conquer Summit just wrapped up not too long ago. And I'm just naming a few of them that I've gone to in the past, right? So there's convention after convention after convention. Those are fun, but between the cost of the ticket, the travel, the meals, the doing cool stuff with friends you haven't seen in a while, those things get expensive. They're a great investment, but they take a while to pay the dividends to incorporate what you learned while you were there or the vendors you picked up while you were there. And as a vendor, Sean and I know, like, our shit ain't free either. So you're going to go to a show and you're going to sign up with a vendor and do a thing, and that's going to cost you more money. So it's no stranger that this time of year is usually very cash flow tight for people. Our customers are also, I mean, we saw this in maid service for years and years, Sean. It's like, why wouldn't somebody want cleaning this time of year? It's an inside service. But we would usually get like a 20% drop in revenue this time of year, partially because people are just sick, so they don't want you in their house cleaning, partially because we were in the northern part of the United States, and so a bunch of our clients will be snowbirding it going south. And then the other part is like people just aren't buying because they're watching their wallet after the holidays. And so they're just getting frugal and maybe downsizing their cleaning from bi-weekly to monthly or whatever the case is, or just cutting it all together. Or a new client wouldn't be coming to be a new client until like March or April because January and February, just things are financially tight. So there's a lot of headwinds that we all face from a cash flow perspective. I was thinking back as I was thinking, like, this is what we got to talk about today. I'm dealing with bookkeeping clients that are like considering shitty alternatives, shitty loans. And so I think this is something we just got to get in front of with everybody. as you know, I like to do some storytelling, Sean Day. And I know that Shady Day does too. And I'm sure Shady has financed a thing or two incorrectly that he wishes he couldn't have. And I know there's been things that I have where it's like, shit, I'm just in a bind. And it brought me back to, I want to say it was like it would have been 2017. Because I think it was it 2015 or 2016? That September was when I like started with the company. And like 6 months later, I was running to the bank in the springtime to go just drop $20,000 into the bank of like my personal, let's face it, of my wife's money, dropping that into the bank to make sure we could pay our employees. And that was end of February. And we're like waiting for window cleaning to get started up. But we started this maid service business in Minneapolis, and we were 6 months in. And it was doing okay, but growing a business is expensive between the recruiting and the marketing and the supplies and the this and the that. And I remember like there was like a weird sense of pride within it in a way, but it was scary as hell where I was like, oh shit, I'm a small business owner. Like I'm having to sacrifice all these things to even just like pay my employees. And Sean, you get it, right? You've been there before, but our home cleaners don't understand the majority of our employees have no idea that is a thing that would have to happen.
Right.
That's even a decision that you're making, and you're going to your spouse to be like, hey, by the way, this is a thing that we're gonna do, and I don't know another way around it. And luckily we had the money reserve, set aside, and we had a little bit of a reserve fund, so we didn't have to go borrow shitty money anywhere. We could borrow it for me, but we're not like, that was a fortunate position we were in. But I remember like it smacking me upside the head of like, oh, we can't do this every payroll. Right. Like this isn't a thing that can last very long. We got to like make some harder decisions here before we're really in a bind. And some of those hard decisions are what I want to get to and talk about today. Sean, is there anything that comes to mind for you where you look back and you're like, oh,
I think that one of the biggest ones is I always made the mistake of going, okay, I need a new vehicle, and I'm going to spread that freaking loan as far down the road as I can and just stretch it over like a mortgage. I mean, my God, car loans were usually supposed to be 2 or 3 years. Yeah. I'm going, don't you have like a 17-month freaking thing on? And I inevitably always be upside down. When it came time to get rid of it, I was always upside down. Yep. By thousands. And it's like, I just paid all this money on this thing. They're beating the living hell out of it. So when anything would come back screwed up, I'd be like, what are you freaking doing?
Oh, yeah, because they were work vehicles, right? Yeah. And you're probably putting them on like a 5 or 7 year loan.
Yeah, 7 year, man. It was like a 5-7 year loan. Yeah, 60 months, 72 months. And they were only like $13,000 vehicles sometimes, because I was buying some little ones at that time. And then we were kind of outgrowing that a little bit. And yeah, it was just that, to me, that was the one that sticks out the most, because you're investing in an asset and you're upside down on that asset when you want to get rid of it. That's not good.
No, I remember when we had the St. Louis business and we had whatever Nissan Versa or whatever they had.
Yeah.
Like we got it through the acquisition, and man, we spent like 6 months trying to figure out how to get rid of that thing, because it was a few grand underwater, because that's exactly what it was. It was just it had a low monthly payment, so we could afford to make the monthly payment, but we couldn't afford to get rid of the vehicle. It was the weirdest thing. Our hands were so tied.
It's horrible too, because you're looking at we're talking cash flow today. We're looking at nothing but the cash flow, and so you make this business decision of, okay, got a new asset that's going to make tons of dough, but I got to have a little payment on it. And you're stretching an asset over something where it's always going to depreciate. It's not like real estate. So it's a depreciating asset that you're going to ram the miles up, because that's what you do. That's all you do all day long, is driving that thing practically. Mm-hmm. And that whole thing just doesn't make sense. Financially, you're going to get crushed.
I
was really good at doing it.
Yeah. let me try this one more time and just make sure this is right. Scott Ziegler checking in. He said he's switching over to YouTube so he can use his phone, listen at the same time. Said Facebook needs to get with the program, because if you're watching this on your phone, you can't be screwing around on your phone. You got to like switch out of the program. But YouTube, you can still listen live. I didn't even think about that. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, get your ass over to the YouTube channel and subscribe. Thanks, Zig. You'll find it at Home Service Happy Hour. Go figure. No, to that point, Sean, I remember we had figured that out with our window cleaning vans that we had to buy, that we needed to wait until we could put 25 to 30% down. That seemed to be the sweet spot where it forced us to wait until we had enough cash flow to buy the thing. We still financed quite a bit of it, but it never got us underwater, because no matter how much we beat it up or put miles on it, we were always like a little bit ahead of the game. And we'd buy them used, and our bank would still let us finance usually like 3 to 5 years. And so we'd kind of figure out what made sense within there. And God, if you took that 5 year, by the time that loan was paid off, that vehicle was pretty worn out. That baby was worn out.
It needed to be shot.
But it didn't have much value left, and the loan was paid off. And so that worked pretty well. So I get that question a lot from bookkeeping clients, is like, how do I buy this thing? And I'm like, well, first, don't buy shit you can't afford. Like, that's just a really good rule of thumb. And so make sure you have enough cash to at least put yourself in a position where you don't get upside down on it. Because when you get upside down on a vehicle, and we're throwing that around loosely, but that basically is meaning if you go sell that thing, let's say you get 12 grand for it, but you have a loan of 15 grand left on it. So now you have to figure out right now how to come up with that difference of $3,000. That's what we mean by upside down. It's way better to pay that 3 grand as a down payment in advance, or pay 10 grand or whatever it is, the down payment in advance. Make sure you have the money to do it, then finance the rest, so that later on, if that business isn't serviceable, whatever the case is, if it can't go out and do the thing, you're not stuck holding on to it. That's a really good point, Sean. But
I should know better too, because at Enterprise, part of my job was to go knock on the door, get in front of somebody, and sell them a fleet of vehicles. And our most popular program was an open-end lease. Yep. Where it was like a balloon payment at the end, and they could bring it to us. We'd sell it for them and try to break even or get them a little bit of money. And I sold the shit out of that, but I never took advantage of it when I owned my business, because I was emotional about it, man. I just need this low payment. That's all I need, is this low payment.
Yep.
You get burned almost every time.
I'll figure out the rest later. I'll figure out the rest.
Exactly.
I see that with vehicles every once in a while. Where I really see the shitty money come into play is equipment financing, or just cash flow financing. Like, the minute you have to start selling your AR to try to get cash forward, there's not a lot of great offers out there, and they know you're emotional, and they know that anything that puts money in your pocket, no matter how much you're selling your soul to the devil, they know they've got you. And they take full advantage. So for the love of God, if you feel like you're about to sign on to one of those things and you're like, maybe I should have somebody look at this, just please send it to me. Just throw it to me on Facebook, private message me, send it to me. Like, I will look at it with you. I've brought this up on this show before. And we'll get into how this comes about and how to figure this out. But I have a client right now who got an offer, and it's like a daily loan payback. And just like FYI, if it's a daily payback thing, in general, you're going to want to stick around for the list of things you can do other than this. Because I've never once in the life of me doing finance stuff seen a loan you have to pay back every single day where I was like, oh, that was a good one. That was that helped you. Every time it just puts you in a worse spot. And like I said earlier, it's just a drug. They give you money, and you have to they're just your drug dealer. You have to keep going back to them, because they know you're not going to be able to pay the rest of that. You're going to have to borrow more money from them, and then more money from them. This specific loan, I won't name anybody, but this is like a loan that you could always go borrow money at this. Hell, you can borrow money from me at this. Like, if this sounds like a good deal to you, let me know, and I'll borrow you this money. And then I'll have to chase your ass around later to get the rest of it back. But the loan was basically like, hey, we'll give you 50 grand now, and you'll have daily payments until you pay us 75 grand. And that's all going to be paid back in a year. Okay. Like, this math is pretty easy. It's not always this easy, but you're paying $25,000 extra on a $50,000 loan. That's pretty clearly 50%, and it's in 1 year. So that is an interest rate of 50%. Now, if you told me there was an investment I could go make and generate a 50% return, I would stop recording this podcast right now, and I would just go do that forever, right? The only reason that they charge that much because they know you're desperate, but they also charge that much because they know a lot of people aren't going to be able to pay it back because they're screwing you over. Like they're putting you in it. They know you're emotional. They know you're in a bad spot. The risk of default is high. And so you might not default, but they're charging you for everybody ever that is going to default, which is a lot of the people that borrow money for $50,000 and they got to pay back 75. So just do that quick math. What is that interest rate? Again, if you don't know how to figure that out, get with a finance person, get with me, get with any other nerdy bookkeeper, CPA, whoever will give you 5 minutes to talk about what that interest rate is so you can figure it out. Because your business in general, if you're in the home service space, your business probably returns somewhere between 10 and 30% return. When you put money into marketing, when you put money into hiring an admin person, when you put money into recruiting, those things generally give you a 10 to 30% return. And I don't mean like this drives me nuts. I even see marketing companies pitch this bullshit and it drives me bonkers, which they'll be like, this is a 10x ROI.
Yeah.
And they use the word revenue instead of return. It's not a 10x ROI if you put in $1,000 and you get $10,000 of revenue. If you put in $1,000 and you get $10,000 of revenue, you probably broke even. Your profitability on $10,000 of revenue is probably about $1,000. By the time you pay somebody to go do the work, you pay for the equipment to go do the thing, you pay for the marketing to go do the thing, you pay for the recruiting to find the person to go do the thing, you pay for your rent, you pay for your utilities, you pay for your software, you pay for going to one of these conventions. You don't make $10,000 when you go do $10,000 worth of revenue. You make about $1,000, and you need the equipment and the financing and the vehicles and blah, blah, blah. And so your return on that is 1-to-1. It's like there isn't a return. The ROI isn't 10x. It's 1. You spent $1,000, you made $1,000. It's just 0% return. The reason I stress that is if you are starting to calculate an interest rate that's anywhere over like 15 to 20%, you're screwed. You're going to pay the return that you're guaranteeing that you're going to have to pay them is higher than the return you get in your business. So if you're borrowing money at 20% to go invest in something that returns 10%, you're fucked. Like you're going to pay more in interest than you get for taking that money and then buying the thing that generates you money. And I can't stress that enough. And that's why I like a 50% interest rate. Like he sent me the documentation of it and I was just like, absolutely not. Right. There's no way that this would ever make sense. The minute you would sign this, you're hosed, right? Unless the game plan is I'm going to take this money I borrowed and throw it on some lottery tickets and hope I hit. Like you might as well do that. You're just lighting it on fire because they're just going to get you again. So the math that everybody needs to do if you're considering financing anything and borrowing money is what's the real interest rate that I'm paying on this? Not what's the interest rate they tell you. Because so many of these loans, especially like the equipment financing ones, or even I've seen like the PayPal and QuickBooks ones, they don't tell you what the real interest rate is. They tell you like a weird interest rate after you pay them a bunch of fees. Like the fees are part of the interest. The fees are part of the cost of this money. So what is the percentage spend of the money that you're getting? What's that ROI that you're giving up, that you're locking in, that you're guaranteeing you're going to lose compared to what's the ROI you get when you invest in your company? And I don't mean revenue on investment. I mean, what's the actual return? What's your net profit margin when you go out to do work? That's the money that you're measuring against this money you borrowed. You need to make sure that when you borrow money and put it in your company, the money that your company spits out, hopefully it's like 10 to 20%, is a higher interest rate or higher percentage rate than the money you're borrowing, right? Because if that's backwards, if you're borrowing money at 20% and you're putting it into something that generates money at 10%, I guarantee you are losing money.
It's a negative return on your investment. That's not good.
Yeah, you just locked in a loss. And I see that happen all the time. And just people aren't comparing those two things. I'm going to, we got to take a little commercial break here and we'll get back to it. We'll tell some more stories and then we're going to get into all the other things that you can do instead of borrowing that shitty money. Sean, you were going to say something.
Yeah, real quick. I used to have a mortgage company for 10 years and in the mortgage business. And if you bought a house or you refinanced or anything, you have to sign that truth in lending. There's a truth in lending disclosure that has here's the mortgage interest rate is 8%, but the truth in lending disclosure says, oops, there's like $3, $4, $5 in closing costs. So your real rate, which they say is your real APR on the truth in lending, is much higher than what the bank's telling you your mortgage rate is. So
yeah. And you know what actually like really chaps my ass is most of the time when I see like a lot of these equipment financing offers, when people send them to me, like the interest rate they show, I can't do any math to get to the interest rate they show. There is no truth in the lending. It is absolutely absurd what they get away with, and people get totally screwed because of it. All right. I'm going to get off my high horse for 2 minutes so we can listen to some commercials to pay for this awesome radio station. We'll be back with a little more home service happy hour right here on Turf's Up Radio. Don't go nowhere, especially don't go nowhere if you're thinking about borrowing shitty money, because I got some way better things you can do.
Creating art from darkness. For over 20 years, Cast Lighting has designed and manufactured the world's most durable, energy-efficient, and technically advanced landscape lighting products available at astonishingly affordable prices. Cast offers an all-encompassing line of products with everything you need to get the job done. Cast Landscape, their most durable product, is best-in-class, low-voltage landscape lighting made of solid bronze with integrated and drop-in LED technology. These fixtures are built to endure the most demanding environments. Source Lighting, a new division by Cast, is your source for professional grand landscape lighting made of durable brass, offering both integrated and drop-in LED technology, and backed by Cast, the world's most durable outdoor lighting. Cast Lighting gives you innovative, state-of-the-art, old-world craftsmanship with tomorrow's technology. Visit their website at cast-lighting.com today. That's cast-lighting.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world, no one rocks like Turf's Up Radio. Turf's Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Cress is leading the transition from gas-powered lawn equipment for professional operations with the introduction of the industry's first truly game-changing innovation in battery-powered OPE. With the Cress 8-minute cyber system, professional landscapers can now replace their messy gas-powered equipment without sacrificing performance, power, or runtime. The 8-minute cyber system allows for Cress-made 60-volt batteries to fully charge in 8 minutes or less, just enough time for a water break. Complemented by a full line of equipment benchmarked against gas-powered products, landscapers can finally take charge of their business and make the switch to battery. For more information, visit Cress.com. Visit Cress.com. Having issues with your maintenance schedule? Want better routing and ability to track your vehicles when they leave the shop? Do you want to reduce your liability exposure with your vehicles that are moving billboards on the road? GPS Fleet Consulting uses cloud-based dashcam monitoring and can easily track your vehicle maintenance using real odometer readings. GPS Fleet Consulting can also assist you with live phone support and email support with guaranteed same-day responses. Yes, same-day responses. Stop wondering where your trucks are and start managing your fleet with GPS Fleet Management Systems. For more information, visit gpsfleetconsulting.com. That's gpsfleetconsulting.com.
Hey, Sean, since Angela's not here, I need you to dance so I know that the music's working. You know, yeah, that's good. That's real.
What's that?
Yeah,
I'm moving my hips too. You just can't see it.
You're like Austin Powers when he's like doing the stairs and the escalator behind the couch.
Right, yeah.
I can hardly tell. What's up, home service homies? We're back with a little more home service happy hour right here on Turf's Up Radio. We're talking cash flow. It's that time of year. Cash flow in the winter sucks. It just sucks. Getting through the holidays, we have a window cleaning business up in Minneapolis here. We're shut down for like 4 months. We still got a lot of bills to pay. I think our kind of general game plan is we go into the winter with at least $100,000. That's what we need to survive. Which sounds scary, but we figured it out. We learned it. Last year we actually needed a little bit more than that. But we're talking about it gets hard to make investments, right? We know we should be investing in recruiting. We've talked about that the last couple of weeks, and now is the time. If you're not recruiting yet, at least get some freebies going, you guys. Holy cripes, get some freebies going. Get whatever posts you can get out there going, and don't be afraid to interview people way in advance before you need them. But you might need a truck too.
I got a question for you.
Hit it.
Is it a smart idea to, if you've been in business for a while and you've got some really good customers, is it especially for recurring businesses? Is it wise to offer a prepayment discount to your clients or not really?
I haven't gotten there yet, Sean.
Oh,
I haven't
all right.
gotten to the things you can do yet, but that's one of them. But anyway, well,
bad.
How about we get into that stuff? I think that's a good sign. It's time to transition into what you can do instead of borrowing shitty money. There's a couple things we can do with our client list. One of them is this you can do to your client list. You can also just do this as an offer to the market, right? They don't already have to be your clients, but pre-sell stuff, right? Maid service, you can pre-sell a year's package. I see people doing that this time of year. You can do the same in window cleaning. You can do the same in pressure washing. You can do the same in gutter cleaning. You can do the same if somebody needs a new garage floor. Sell stuff now that you're going to install later and take a deposit now. Pre-sell. Get cash flow coming in now. Leave the work happen when you know you're going to be busier and have the cash flow to be able to pay the people to do the work. But bring the cash flow in now. There's no harm in pre-selling stuff. Especially because if you're slow right now, you got the time to do it. You got the time to do the pre-selling stuff and organize the schedule and build it all out because you are slow. And that's why your cash flow is down. So what are you waiting for? Go sell some stuff. Along the same line, there's probably customers you have that owe you money right now. Right? And you're just not chasing them down hard enough. So go knock on their door, right? You might go knock on somebody else's door when you're in their neighborhood to sell something, which is another thing I'll talk about in a second. But if anybody owes you money for anything and you are hard up on cash and you're considering financing anything or borrowing any money at one of the shitty loans that we just got done talking about, go get the money that people owe you. Somebody owes you money for something. And now's the time to go hard and collect it. And if that means showing up at their doorstep and saying, hey, if you don't pay me, I'm going to go out of business and you owe me this money and I need it to get through the winter. It is what it is, right? You're a small business owner. This is what you got to do to go stay afloat. If you're not willing to do that, I don't know why the hell you'd be willing to sign up for a 50% interest rate loan.
It's an easy one, right? It's easy though. I just signed that loan. I just signed it, clicked, and I got money, man. That's easy.
You got to click that button.
Yeah, to knock on somebody's door and look them in the eye and say, dude, you owe me money and I'm in trouble, so you're going to need to pay me. That's hard. And almost every single time the best rewards in life are when it's hard, man. And that's and why on earth are you feeling so shitty about it? That guy should be feeling shitty about it, not you.
That's a good point. You don't have to feel bad about it. He's the asshole. She's
yes.
I think there's also an opportunity to sticking with the client side of it. There's probably stuff you and your business can sell to your client list or the market that are things that are seasonal, right? And maybe they're not your sweet spot, but if you don't have the cash flow and you haven't built the business model to be able to withstand your slow seasons, I'm not a huge fan of adding services and chasing shiny objects. But if there's a time to do it, it's when you don't have the money and you're about to have to go borrow it at 50%. So like one thing, if you're in where we are, normally there'd be some like ice dam removal opportunities. There ain't going to be this year because right now it's still like 30 degrees out. My roof is melting right now and it's just melting because it's above freezing. It's not like it's just melting. I can see my shingles, which we never in late January, there's usually 2-3 feet of snow on the roof here. But that does mean we should be out dryer vent cleaning, right? We can't do ice dam removal, but we sure as hell could be out cleaning dryer vents. We have a window cleaning business, but no reason we couldn't be doing that. If we were really hard up, we could go start doing some commercial window cleaning, right? We can clean windows when it's 35 degrees out. There's plenty of opportunities for that. If it did snow, we could pick up some quick little snow plowers or shovels or go scrounge up some money that way. So there's usually an opportunity to go sell some stuff. I don't recommend, if you're a scaled business, don't try to go shift into a bunch of shit unstrategically and add more weird things to your plate. But if you're smaller and you're more nimble and you're just trying to cash flow, go hustle. go fire some things up and go make some money. The bigger your business is, the harder it is to do that, or the more distracting it can be to do that. So you got to be a little more thoughtful about what you get yourself into. But also, the bigger you are, you have a huge client list. And you probably have some AR.
I know there's a lot of people looking for help in seasonal times like that too, that are looking to recruit for winter stuff, and building relationships with those types of businesses and saying, hey, why don't we hook up? Because I'm slow during the winter. You're kind of not. Mm-hmm. And I've got some people or myself that need to make some money during that time of the year, instead of you worrying about recruiting. And I'm speaking against myself here a little bit, but that's all right.
Don't worry. I'm going to speak against you next too. I have one. It goes against both of us, but it's a thing. So anyway,
hey man, if it makes sense and it's good for people, do it. And that's true. I mean, listen, if somebody's plowing snow and that's not your gig, but they sure as hell could use a truck or use somebody to throw salt down and shovel a little bit, man, build that relationship. It's better than them looking for people and trying to recruit. If you walk down their door, they'd probably welcome that right quick.
I have a couple people that I work with who their idea for the slow time here was, I'm going to go get a part-time job.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to go get a job because I know I'm going to be slow. And yeah, there's stuff I can work on in my business, but it's not like a full-time job to work on my business right now. And therefore, I'm going to go get a job to get cash flow so that when the spring does come and I do need a new truck and I do need to go spend money on marketing, I just built up the nest egg to go make those investments. Right. And so it seems a little counterintuitive when you have a business to go get a job. But sometimes go get a job, and go get a job with people doing home service stuff maybe too, because that relationship is going to pay off twofold, right? You're going to be able to use them in the future. They're going to be able to use you in the future. You can collaborate on stuff. So again, maybe not the first thing that you would go do, but depending on where you're at and what your cash flow needs are, don't be afraid to go get a job and scoop up some personal cash that you can reinvest into the business. Here's one that goes against both of us, Sean. I don't like it, but this is the thing you could do. Don't pay your vendors. Sucks, but like if you're, and I talked to Dalkey about this because Dalkey's like a master turnaround specialist, dude. Yeah. That's like when they go into a business that is doing really bad, this is like the first mechanism they use is they stop paying the vendors. And the vendors will usually like keep doing work for a period of time. And then the vendors will usually be like, hey, we got to stop until you pay us, and then string them along. Don't do this to Sean and I. But like this dude's a bookkeeping client of mine that I told this to, and I was like, hey, like, I get that this is weird coming from somebody that is a vendor of yours, but stop paying us. If you're that tied up, like, stop paying your bills until there's repercussions for stopping paying your bills. But most of your vendors would prefer to get paid something at some point in time, so they don't want you to go out of business, right? Yep. They don't. And if you sign up for a 50% interest rate loan, the chance you go out of business is way, way, way higher. So none of us would want you to do that either. We'd rather have you not pay us for a month or two. We might pause services. So maybe don't stop your recruiting service. If you know you're going to need employees, stop your bookkeeping service. Like, we can catch up. Yeah, you're going to like miss some of the data maybe. And you got to decide if that's worth it to you. You got to make some sacrifices. But I'd say like there's vendors out there that you can pause things with and pick back up when it makes sense to you.
I think most vendors too, Dan, would let's say you owe them whatever it is, and you got to pay $500 a month, $1,000 a month. They'll take $100 a month every day of the week, or $50 a month. Every single vendor I've ever come across would, as long as you pay them something. And they know that you're not hiding from them and you're honest with them, and you just tell them, hey, this is what's going on. If they're a good vendor, and most of us work with good vendors or we wouldn't have worked with them in the first place, they'll accept that as long as you're not running and hiding from them and they need, you're paying them something. I think that works out most times.
Yeah. I mean, hell, the IRS even does that. You can like get a payment plan going with them. Yep. Really. Yep. Like that. They're very in tune to that, because if you go bankrupt, they get nothing, right? So they'd rather support you and get the money at some point in time rather than never get it. And your vendors are no different. One asterisk.
Yeah. That's why at Hire, Lead, and Chill, we allow your payment to come way down when you're not absolutely hiring and boosting and sponsoring that sort of thing, because we understand that. We live it. We've been there. We've done it. That's why we offer it.
That's a good point. We got the Always Be Recruiting program at Higher Lead Chill, where whether it's the busy season and you're just stocked up running 1,000 miles an hour, you might go back to the ABC plan. So you're just keeping the lights on, and then you get back heavy boosting when you're like, okay, ramping back up.
Yep.
But the slow season, it works perfectly too. Go back to minimum maintenance mode and lower the bill way down. But that's a good point. I think there's a lot of different on the bill paying side of it, sticking with that. And then we'll take another commercial break here in a second, but there's a lot of bills that you pay and you're probably not on the lowest tier subscription. Some of those things you can probably get rid of. Some of them you can just like whittle way back, right? Work with those vendors specifically to see if you can get, one that I think of is your payroll company. You probably have less employees. And this was something we always had to do every winter, Sean, especially in the maid services and window cleaning big time. We would like cut down our payroll subscription to only be paying in our CRM, which was like a per employee fee, cut those way down so that we were saving a whole bunch of money for the 3-4 months that things were a whole lot slower. Why the hell not? Why keep paying the higher premium price that we were on?
Would that fall true with most workers' comp as well, that they might not know, or is that something different?
I think you can talk to your workers' comp or your liability insurance companies. They're looking more at like the last year,
okay,
not month to month. Now, ideally, you can get on a workers' comp plan that is month to month, and that's awesome. If you're stuck on here's your annual price and you pay this monthly, then you're kind of hosed. But if business is down overall, you can go back to them and say like, hey, we need a reset. We need a reprice. Sometimes they'll entertain it. Sometimes they won't. But again, if it's, hey, I need a reset on this, or I'm closing my doors, hey, let's see what we can do to help you out here. Right. Like, otherwise we're not going to have you as a customer anymore. I'll get back into that. I got some other expense side things to talk about, but we'll get back to that right after another word from our sponsors here on Home Service Happy Hour, right here on Turfs Up Radio. Don't go nowhere.
True Fuel is a high-octane fuel precision engineered for your 2- and 4-cycle equipment. They use the most advanced synthetic lubricants and stabilizers in an ethanol-free fuel, improving performance, protecting your equipment, and saving you time. That means easier startups, smoother idling, and quicker trigger response, plus extended life for all of your equipment. True Fuel is ready to use and easy to store, helping your operations be more efficient and reducing maintenance costs. We at Turfs Up use True Fuel because we know it works and we know it's the best option. Check out TrueFuel50.com to learn more. That's TrueFuel50.com.
You're listening to Turfs Up Radio, the only radio station of its kind dedicated to the green industry. Now you can even ask Alexa to tune you in when you're home.
Are outdated spreadsheets and whiteboard scheduling costing you jobs? Or is a lack of consistency between crews causing your bids to differ from job to job? Or worse, delaying critical invoices and payments? Crew Control offers all-in-one business management solutions fit for every trade. From bidding and scheduling to invoicing and integrating payments, Crew Control provides real-time visibility into your crew's efficiency, whether you're in the field, in the office, or even on vacation. Manage your crews more effectively and improve business performance with Crew Control. Start your free trial today at crewcontrol.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world, here's to all the women in the green industry. Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Sean forgot that he's supposed to dance. What's going on? Yeah, baby. Here we go. Now it's real. Now it's getting real. Your excitement is contagious.
It is. Yeah. I know. If I'm not talking about recruiting, though, sometimes I don't get super pumped up.
The dancing. It's no CBF Live. It's no CBF Live stage.
God help me.
Maybe we'll get up there.
You need to have Ron Howard down here. He'll be dancing for you, man.
Oh yeah, we could do that. We could probably get Ron on here. What's up, folks? We're talking cash flow over the winter here and different things you can do so that you don't have to borrow money at 50% interest rates, which is like those are the offers that you get right now with like daily cash loans and stuff like that. And I've seen more and more of these Stripe loans and PayPal loans and really goofy equipment financing things. And now, like I said, I've seen one that is just an egregious, like straight up 50% interest on it. But here's the thing that I also see is they really hose you because they charge the fees up front. So, or they make it so you can't prepay it. So like, even if you wanted to pay it down faster, you're not getting any benefit from it because they charge you all the interest up front. Like the guy I was looking at that I mentioned earlier was he would basically get 50 grand. You have to pay 75 back. There's no value in the prepay. Like you're paying the same amount, right? It's not like an amortization schedule where you can make a payment and it knocks down the principal. Doesn't matter how fast you pay it. The faster you pay it, the higher the interest rate is by default because you're paying it in less than a year, right? If it's a year term and it's 50% in a year, if you pay it in half a year, you're basically paying like it's not quite 100%, but like it's outrageous how shitty some of these loans are that are floating around out there. So the message today is don't buy into the shitty loans. And there's a bunch of things you can do. We talked about getting money from your customers, both collecting on your AR, chasing your client list down to try to get some work on the schedule right now, get them to prepay for future work, pre-selling stuff, maybe even depending on the size. Again, the bigger you are, the harder this is, but add a service or two to hustle up some money over the winter. And even, and this is okay, go get a job for you so that you can make some money over the winter when things are slow. And maybe it's in your field, maybe it's not, but it's fine for you to go get a job in addition to the business that you have so you can earn some money that you can reinvest into the business. Because come March, you're going to want the vehicle that you need. You're going to want the recruiting from Sean that you need. You're going to want the marketing thing from Click Call Sell that you need. Maybe you're going to want some bookkeeping from Best Damn Bookkeeping. Those things are going to cost you money when you get them set up and running. And it's fine to go get a different job to put money in your pocket so that you can finance and pay for those things when you are going to need them. We moved into the vendor or the vendor side of things. And part of the story is like, you can just kind of cut your vendors out for a little bit, like stop paying your vendors or work with them on payment terms. Right. And as Sean and I acknowledge, since we're both vendors to the home service industry, like we'll work with you. We have to, we want you to survive. Like it's better for you. And that's what it's all about. But it also like, we all lose if you go out of business. Nobody wants to see you go out of business.
Didn't we go through that during COVID? I mean, probably almost anybody listening to this, if you were operating during COVID, those conversations happen daily.
All the time.
To get things figured out, right?
All the time. You just got to figure it out together.
Yep.
And so now we get to like the expenses that you can cut. And one of the things that Sean, you had brought up is scaling back the subscription that you're on. And you actually built Higher Lead Chill so that people can do that, so that they have an option when things are slow, that they can still get the value from it, but not have to like totally cut ties, which is a win for Higher Lead Chill. Obviously we want to keep customers, and is a huge win for the clients that they don't have to like start and stop their recruiting vehicle all the time. They can, as we say, always be recruiting.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's fair. We're doing less labor and we're doing less for the client. It's $1 for $1, Dalkey always says, right? The value. I'll give you $1 worth of value, but you've got to give me that $1. It's $1 for $1 thing. And that if we're doing less labor, we've got somewhere for you to park that, and we'll charge you less because we're doing less for you. And that's where that idea really came from.
Yep. I think there's other things out there designed to do the same, right? Your CRM, you might be able to scale down and pay a little bit less for when things are slow and you have less employees that are on it. Your payroll system is probably tied to how many people you have on payroll. So make sure that people that aren't working for you are out of your payroll system so that you're not paying a higher subscription fee. Anything like that that's tied to your revenue, that's tied to the number of employees you have, that's tied to anything else that's going on in your business that's much slower, see if you can adjust that. See if you can change that during the slow season. And Sean, this was always something we were like pretty intentional about doing at Blue Skies, and I still don't think we were that great at it. But like every once in a while, you just got to go through your profit and loss and figure out what the hell you're signed up for that you don't actually use anymore.
Right. We were bad at that.
Like we were intentional about it. We could have been a lot worse about it, but like a year would go by and we'd be like, "What is this thing?" Sean, do you know what this is? I don't know what that is. You sign up, and like we would like software stuff or other goofy subscriptions that we tried this or tried that or whatever it is, different dues and subscriptions and softwares and marketing things. There's probably some shit out on your P&L that you're not using anymore. And now would be a great time to go find them.
Yeah.
Now's the time to get it. And there's an interesting and awesome thing about cutting expenses, right? You can't scale a business by cutting the expenses. That doesn't exist. But when and I mentioned this earlier when I was talking about like the ROI of going and doing 10,000 more of sales, it's not a 10x ROI. If you spent $1,000 on marketing, it's probably a 1 ROI. It's a 1x because you probably spent $1,000. You probably made $1,000 and you broke even. What's cool about cutting expenses is the return on the investment is 100% every time. When you cut an expense, you get all of that money, all of it. If you cut $1,000, you get $1,000. If you cut $100, you get $100. All of that money is money that's no longer going out the door. The ROI on it is always 100%. You can't get that return anywhere else. You just can't. It doesn't exist. You'll never go sell $10,000 and make $10,000. It doesn't happen, right? If you can go cut $1,000, that's better than selling $10,000. So keep that in perspective. Cutting expenses puts money back in your pocket faster than anything. So when things are tight, selling stuff is great and you want more work to do and you want to keep your crew busy. But the best thing you can do for your bank account is to cut expenses that you're actually not using anymore, that you don't need. And to that point, along the same line, especially if you're like a dude, this is probably, I'm talking to dudes out there. I don't think gals have this problem as much as dudes do. But man, you got a lot of equipment and toys that you don't use most of the time. And put your manufacturing hat on for a second. You guys, if you've listened to the podcast before, you've probably heard me like hound on this before. But in manufacturing, if it's not running 80% of the time, they're probably shutting that thing down, right? Like they're running 2 shifts and that equipment is running 80% of the time, and your trucks need to do the same. And your equipment, now we're talking the slow season, so it might be a little bit different here. But if you have equipment or vehicles that aren't running 80% of the time during your busy season, get rid of it, right? If you bought that piece of equipment thinking, I need this to go do that job, and then it's sitting there and you're storing it forever, and the alternative is you're going to go borrow money at 50%. Jesus Christ, for the love of God, go sell that equipment that you don't use anymore. That equipment isn't making you any money, and it's not going to make you money because you bought it for one stupid job and you probably convinced yourself there was a good ROI because you bought a $1,000 piece of equipment so you can go do a $3,000 job. FYI, you lost money when you did that. Just so we're all clear here, your ROI wasn't 3-1. Your ROI was jack shit. You lost money when you did that, and now that piece of equipment sitting there not making you any money. So if you can go sell it for $500, go sell it for $500.
Yeah, and it's all of these things are probably a lot of effort. Sometimes they're hard things to do, or you'd already be doing them. Right? If it was easy, you'd already be doing it, and these things wouldn't need to be mentioned. But it's never been easier to sell shit. You got Facebook Market, you've got eBay, you've got all kinds of, with technology, it's never been easier to sell something like that, man. Furniture. Do you have any furniture laying around that you can get a couple $100 for? I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you can do that you're not using, that's just sitting around, that you probably, like you said, Dan, even just little things that you can sell, they come get it. They give you money and take it away. I mean, it just, all you got to do is list this shit.
I sold a desk today for $20.
Yeah.
Like a desk that was in my office just doing nothing. The only bad part about selling that desk for $20 is that my wife was the one that posted it. And then she left the house, and then I was here, and she's like, "Hey, somebody's coming to get the desk." I'm like, "I'm on a demo call," and I'm like, "Hey, Justin, hold on for 1 second. My wife sold some shit, and now I got to go deal with it." Like that literally happened today.
Right.
But like legit, we're also selling a couch. We're also, I'm not in a cash flow bind, but we had a futon. You've slept on the futon.
Yep.
Did when you guys were here.
I did. It was cozy.
Yeah, that green futon is gone. You can't sleep on that thing anymore. The bed's still in here, but I had to move the desk around, and it was like that futon's gone. We bought a nice air mattress in its place. But that futon is listed right now for like $200. We'll see what we get for it.
Yep.
But as a small business owner, that's also kind of one of the cool things is like we can generate money personally and dump it into the business. So yeah, you can sell business assets that you're not using a lot, but like look around your house. You probably got some shit that somebody else would want way more than you. Go sell some stuff and make some money to go reinvest in your business or keep your business alive. Sell the shit you're not using anymore. I know you got it. We all got it. It's all laying around, not doing nothing. Don't do what my wife did and sell it. I'm glad she sold the desk. Like that's awesome. The inconvenience probably was I would have paid her to $20 to not.
Right.
But I probably it would have been $20 of her own money. So I don't know how that would have worked. I'll pay you $20 here. Can I borrow $20, Marty? Okay. I'm going to pay you $20 here with your money back. Not borrow. So along that line, I see a lot of business owners infiltrate their business books with personal expenses, a lot of meals and entertainment. And if you are out spending money personally and you're complaining that your business doesn't have cash flow, that's all I got to say. Like, frugal your ass up and stop going out to dinner. Start eating some ramen and get through the shitty times because that's what dreams are made of. That's just what you got to do. So get frugal business-wise and personal-wise. Live within your means so that you can put that money back into the business and have that thing start generating an income for you. Because I guarantee if you go borrow money at 50%, you will be eating ramen very soon because that's all you'll be able to afford. And it'll probably, I don't even know where it'll come from because you might not be able to afford that because they're going to own your ass, right? That you won't be able to keep paying that interest rate to them. So right now, make the cuts that you need to so you don't need to borrow that money. It's easier to do it when you don't have to do it than to do it when you literally have to do it. So make the sacrifices now personally. And I would say if you do have to borrow money, if everything Sean and I have run through here, you're like, yep, did all that. There's nothing else I could possibly sell. There's nothing else I could possibly cut. There's no other sacrifices I could make. I've squeezed every dollar out of my client base and pre-sold every possible thing I could possibly pre-sell. And I've already screwed my vendors over and everything else that you guys mentioned. Then think about borrowing money and then borrow first from people that you know who would give you a better interest rate and would help you out. Hopefully you're nice to people and you have people that would want to help you. So start there. Then check out banks and SBA and people that are actually legit financial organizations. And you might not have great credit and you might have to do some personal guarantees or whatever. Newsflash, like anything your business is on the hook for, you're on the hook for. So a personal guarantee is just of course you're personal guaranteeing stuff. People talk about business credit and it's just irrelevant. It just doesn't matter as a small business owner. Your business credit is not important. If they won't borrow your business money, go borrow it personally and dump it into your business. You and your business, in that case, you are the same. Go get the lowest interest rate you can, borrow the money, contribute what you need to the business. And then maybe the last final alternative would be borrow some shitty money on a Stripe loan, on a PayPal loan, on whatever this 50% loan is. But for the love of God, do the math and figure out what that interest rate is. And if it's more than what your business generates a return, which again, your rate of return is probably 10 to 20%. It's not this 10x bullshit that marketing companies tell you they can get you when you send their postcards out or whatever. Like they're a marketing company. They're trying to sell you shit, right? Make sure that the interest rate that you're paying to go borrow the money is lower than the interest rate or the rate of return that you get when you invest in your business. Usually the cutoff is credit cards. If you're borrowing money on credit cards, you're probably breaking even and you're going to be spinning your wheels on that type of debt. If you're borrowing money at anything worse than that, you're for sure going backwards, right? Credit cards are bad enough. That's like usually around 20%. Anything worse than that, like you're just going in the hole real fast.
Yeah,
Any last words, Sean?
Yeah, the only thing I could add to that is two things. One is, even if you go through the first set of things that are most reasonable and make sense, the vendors and things like that, as long as you do that first, and you still end up at the shitty loan side of it, at least it's not for as much, right?
Yep.
So you could cut, instead of borrowing 50,000 maybe that you need to get through, maybe you only have to borrow 20,000 on the shitty loan. So it's definitely worth the first thing first, and looking through all those things. And then the last thing I'd say is, I've used what they call the SBA, a micro loan. And I don't know if they for sure still have it around, but I've used it twice for two different businesses. And it's just it's called a micro loan. It's an SBA loan. And it's for, like, I think at the time I used it was like for $20,000, $30,000 it's like a chunk of change. It's maybe up to 50,000 by now. And it's a micro loan that's really easy to, they ask for a lot of paperwork because it's the government, but it was pretty easy to get approved.
It's worth doing that paperwork versus clicking the button on the shitty loan.
You bet.
But I think that was the first thing you said there was a great point too. And just like, if you do all these things, maybe instead of needing a $50,000 shitty loan, you only need a $10,000 shitty loan. And like, maybe that you can overcome, right? Like, do all these other things. Get every dime you can from your customers, get every dime you can from your vendors, and get every dime you can from yourself. Like, get your ass frugal, sell some of your shit laying around, some of your business shit, some of your personal shit, get frugal and get yourself through the winter. And then next year going into it, stash up some money. Like I said, we set aside $100,000 before we distribute a thing in our northern window cleaning business here in Minneapolis. Like, we figured it out. It's just what you got to do. Stash that money so you don't spend it. All right, boys and girls. I hope that was an uplifting episode for you about all the shit not to do. But it needed to be said. For this time of year, it needed to be said. Preserve your cash. And as always, work smarter and harder. Go earn yourself some pride. I got Matt, what's his last name? I looked it up. I looked up this guy's last name. I got a fun guest tonight. Matt, you'll understand why I don't know his last name, because he's my auto mechanic. So I just know
awesome.
I actually had to search. His last name is Grandy. Matt Grandy is coming on. I got to know him really well because I have a 2011 F-150. I've gotten to know Matt really well recently. And he's just a fun beer drinking Minnesota dude. You guys will love him. We'll dig into his story and learn some lessons from him and drink a lot of Busch Lights. I got the mini fridge full. I'm ready to go. So check that one out tonight, and we'll catch you on the next one.